Just let him know that we're going to say a few words, take a few questions, and we're going to count to 5 and then we'll do a lot. Is that good, Zach?
Sign language interpreter. Steve. Can you sign language interpreter?
Yeah. No, we call it. We call it. Yeah. All right.
Oh, yeah, just doing it. Yeah, I spoke to Eddie.
Okay, so 10 seconds. You're doing live.
Good morning, everyone. Would like to provide you with an update on the Southeast Seminole Heights murders. As you're aware, we have arrested Hal Donaldson III, 24 years old. This took place last night. If I could kind of remind you of where we stand, it was 51 days yesterday since the murder of Benjamin Mitchell, who was 22 years old. 2 days later, after Benjamin Mitchell, we had Monica Hoffa. Monica was 32 years old. She was just walking along the streets, minding her own business. On October 19th, we had Anthony Niboa, 20 years old. Anthony, unfortunately, caught the wrong bus and was just walking to catch another bus and was gunned down on the sidewalk. And then on November 14th, 26 days after Anthony Niboa was murdered, we had 60-year-old Ronald Felton gunned down in the middle of the street. All 4 murders were ruthlessly committed. All 4 murders were related. There was no apparent motive. And yesterday afternoon, it was about 2:30 in the afternoon when Hal Donaldson showed up at the McDonald's where he worked and gave a bag to a coworker. The coworker opened the bag when Mr. Donaldson left and found the gun inside. Didn't think much of it, just thought it was strange that there was a gun in there, and gave the bag to a police officer who was in the McDonald's. That was the bit of information that we were looking for. That is what we needed. The police officer called our operations center, and we took up the investigation immediately from there. And so you wonder what the gun, yesterday when I talked, I said I was guarded and but yet optimistic. And you're probably wondering why. Because the gun is what we needed. The same gun was used in all 4 murders. That was the bit of information that we would not release. If you recall, we gave a lot of information up front, but we did not release that. That firearm was used in all 4 murders. As our investigation continued into the early hours of this morning, we were then able to gather the probable cause and charge Hal Donaldson with 4 counts of first-degree murder. I would like to thank the citizens of Seminole Heights for their patience and support. My heart breaks and grieves for the families of these 4 individuals that have been murdered and their extended families of friends that have really been gone through hell for 51 days. I can't imagine what it's like as a father to bury a child. And what these people have had to go through is it's just cruel. I hope this brings this to an end for them, or at least it's the first day of the healing process for these families and for this community. Every day at the police department we would meet and we would discuss how many days it's been since this started, how many days it's been since the last murder. And finally this morning we were able to say that it was day 1 of the healing process. And so that is a good feeling for us. It's a happy day, but I can also tell you it's the beginning of a lot of work. We still have a tremendous amount of work to do to go ahead and get a conviction in this case, because that's when truly justice will be served, is when we get a conviction, and we have a tremendous amount of work to do, and we will get it done. If you see behind me, I have the families, but I have the extended law enforcement family with us. The ATF, Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms, is the unsung hero in this whole investigation. They have been involved since day one, and they have been quietly behind us and working right along with us. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, they have been helping us. And since day one, I have the Hillsborough County Sheriff, Chad Chronister. Chad's not only a good friend of mine, but he's a professional. Chad has talked to me almost daily. He has offered all the support and help that they can provide. And Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office has been a tremendous partner during the whole thing. The Florida Highway Patrol, everybody knows that Governor Scott has helped us. But the Florida Highway Patrol, the amount of troopers that were in this neighborhood and their presence is what allowed us to protect the rest of the city while we were able to investigate this and build leads and bring this thing to an end. FHP has been invaluable. The St. Petersburg Police Department has been involved. I've been on the phone with Chief Holloway over in St. Pete, and they have been providing us with assistance. With the Pasco County Sheriff's Office, who has given us equipment, and Sheriff Naco has been a big supporter. We have the USF Police Department has provided us with equipment, and the U.S. Marshal's Office has been involved also from day one.
Let me first of all compliment Chief Dugan on an amazing job. I knew when I made the choice of Brian Dugan as the chief that it was the right choice. And I think he has proved that over the last couple of weeks. For 51 days, we had a neighborhood that was held hostage. We had neighbors that were living in fear. We had families that were devastated. We had a community that was on edge. This is a city that had just lived through Irma and has now spent the last 51 days dealing with a serial killer. It has been a challenging time for us. But I will tell you in no uncertain terms that I could not be prouder of this city and could not be prouder specifically of the neighborhood that we stand in today in Southeast Seminole Heights. The neighbors that you see, some of whom are here behind us, stood with us throughout this entire process. They took care of the cops. They looked after each other. They took care of the families. They took care of the victims' families. And they reminded all of us of what is good about Tampa, Florida. The law enforcement personnel that have been involved in this from day one, Chief Dugan has talked about them. I can't not speak highly enough. It didn't matter what color your uniform was. All that mattered is that we were going to catch a killer. They were out there day in and day out. Some of them unseen, most of them unheralded. But I can tell you, because I was there every day, that the men and women of law enforcement did their jobs, and this community should be very, very proud of them. Today, the light shines. The darkness is over. This community begins the healing process. This has been a chapter that we hope to never live through, but it's a chapter that told volumes about who we are and what an amazing place this is. These families will never be the same. But we never left them. We told them that we would never leave them. We did our job. Let the healing begin.
Do you have any questions?
Chief Tammy Leitner with NBC News. Did Mr. Donaldson offer any type of motive?
You know what? One of the disappointment, he was cooperative, but he did not tell us why he was doing this. And, you know, there's been very many frustrating things during this whole process. We were really hoping to find out what was driving him to do this. We don't have those answers yet. You know, it's an ongoing investigation. We're going to speak to a lot of people. Now that we know who did this, we're going to have a lot more tips, a lot more information. The work really is beginning now. But to answer your question flat out, no, he did not tell us why he was doing this.
What statements did he make then?
He admitted that he owned the gun.
Chief, can you talk to us about, did he have a connection to that neighborhood or why he may have targeted Seminole Heights?
You know, we have not been able to find a connection to his connection to the neighborhood yet. You know, I always felt that whoever was doing it was very familiar with the neighborhood. We could not say that they absolutely lived there, but they certainly were familiar with the neighborhood. We have not been able to determine why he picked Southeast Seminole Heights. You know, we're not sure if he had a friend there that he was staying with. There's a lot of unanswered questions that we don't have the answers to.
Chief, could you tell us, give us a sense of his mental state?
He seemed fine to me, which is a strange answer for me to give, because why is he out murdering people? He seemed exactly like he knew exactly what he was doing and what was going on. He was very much aware of where he was and what he was doing.
Was he turning himself in when he gave up the gun, or
Repeat the
any sense
questions, 'cause
of
we
why
all
he just went to the McDonald's and just did that?
Okay, I think your question was he turning himself in?
Yeah.
No, he was not turning himself in. The person who called us, I cannot thank them enough for standing up and doing the right thing and say, this doesn't seem right. Why does this person have a gun in a bag?
Will that person be eligible for the reward?
We are going to sift through all of everything and see what rewards will be appropriate.
When you all first released the possible description, he was described as the light complected African American. This guy's darker than me. What made you all feel like he was a light complected?
Okay, the question was about his description and his complexion. You know, we relied on a witness to provide us with that information. You know, this evolved very quickly yesterday. Once we looked at the gun, the type of the gun, and the ammunition, that's what gave us the optimism that we might be on to something.
How long were you on to him before yesterday? The cell phone records seemed to indicate that maybe you had already gotten those records and just needed a break to...
We didn't have anything until about 2:39 yesterday afternoon. That is the first contact that we had with Donaldson.
At this point, are you calling it a serial killer?
I think that's safe to say now. He's killed 4 people. So.
And Chief, when it comes to him just handing this bag to his co-worker, do you feel like he wanted to get caught? Why would he?
No, I don't think he wanted. You know, the question is whether he wanted to get caught when he handed the bag to a coworker. You know, I don't think he wanted to get caught. He gave it to her for safekeeping. Was going to go out and came back. When he came back is when we came in contact with him and started talking to him.
Chief, what was his relationship with that manager? Why did he feel so comfortable to give that gun?
I don't have the answer why he specifically gave her the bag. Maybe he just trusted her and thought she wouldn't look in there.
Did Donaldson's family know any of this?
I don't know. I don't have the answer whether Donaldson's family knew.
Yeah, did he say anything at all? Did he say anything at all about anything that took him down?
The question was whether he said anything. We spoke to him for several hours. It was a very long process, and then when we actually interviewed him, it was a very short interview. You know, he was friendly and nice to the cops, but he didn't give us anything. He didn't tell us why he was doing it or anything like that.
Did he confess?
No, he didn't.
Chief, did he say why he had a gun on him?
Did he admit to actually killing?
I'm sorry, what was the first part?
He said it was his gun. He admitted that it was his gun, but did he admit to the actual murder?
The question is about he admitted that he owned the gun, but he did not admit to the murders.
Chief, what was it like for you the moment you realized you got him?
I've gone on very few hours of sleep, and I had spoke to an investigator the night before, and so my mind was spinning. So I probably got about 2 hours of sleep. I don't even know what day it is. What day is it? It's Wednesday.
Don't ask
So
me.
I think that was Monday night. So I was really just kind of numb. You know, we've had tips before. This morning I think is when it hit me, like we actually got this guy. So it's, a feeling of relief. But, it was a heavy burden to start off as the chief of police and to have 4 unsolved homicides, on your watch. That's a tough pill to swallow. That is something that I will carry for the rest of my life.
Chief, do you gather any more evidence that might help you in your case from the court-authorized search warrants of the two residences in the car?
Yeah, we're gonna to continue to go through that. We have to go through all kinds of, have to go through the car, look at what we found, and go from there. I think which the interesting part is we still have some lab work to go through. But if you recall the first video in the hoodie, we did recover a hoodie and we recovered a jacket. I can't say specifically that that's it. We still have some testing to do, but it's encouraging. I assure you, this is the man who did this.
Chief, what's
Do you
the
believe anyone
process
else
in
is
figuring out how to split up this reward money if she's able to get it? Because she didn't call friends.
No, we'll work through that. I'm confident. I know we have members of the community who has helped us. And that's the other thing. We've had other private donations that have helped purchase equipment, and we're going to be releasing all of that information, who has been involved in helping us behind the scenes, and not just the reward money. I cannot thank the people of Seminole Heights and the way they have rallied behind us, and a mayor who could have easily have said, "You're the interim chief," and left me hanging. Could have easily have done that. And there aren't many politicians that have the guts to stand up and be right there with us. And that's what people need to understand. And, I will be eternally grateful for the people who rallied behind us and who had our back. It's times like this that can easily divide a city, can easily divide a police department, and no one allowed that to happen. We stuck together 51 days before we were able to bring this to an end. That was a long time. And I tell you, the police officers that have worked tirelessly and their families who have supported them, I cannot say enough about them.
Chief,
Do you feel he acted alone?
early in the
Anybody
morning,
else?
late at night or early in the morning, is there any connection to, was he doing these before he was going to work at McDonald's or after he was getting off work at McDonald's? Have you compared the dates to his work schedule?
We will be going through all that. It's still early in the investigation. I don't have that answer, but those are the things that we're going to be looking at.
Chief,
Chief,
was
do
he
you
in
know
the
anyone
car?
involved?
The hoodie and the jacket, were those items found in the trunk of the car?
They were in the car. I don't know exactly where they were found in the car. They were in the car. We still aren't sure if that's exactly it, but if it walks like a duck.
Chief, understanding that this is the first time you've had to deal with a serial killing, what's the takeaway from this with the police department? What'd you learn as far as policing and dealing with this kind of situation?
Well, I had told the cops from the beginning that we are a department that always rises to the occasion. We have, whether it's special events, whether it's hurricanes, we have some damn good cops. And I think it's interesting that I stand here and I get the credit because I had the title, but they did all the work. And they're the ones that I'm thankful for, and I'm thankful for their families, because we have an excellent police department. Look at the support from the other agencies that are back here. Nobody left me hanging. We owned it from day one, but the phone calls from other Bay Area law enforcement agencies. And so my takeaway from this is that, I'm never shocked at how good our cops respond when their back's against the wall. And I think the mayor, you would agree with that.
Chief, can you talk more about how you were able to ping the suspect's cell phone to determine locations and how long you've been tracking cell phones prior to this?
We've been looking at that. The cell phones is an interesting concept that everybody asks about. That is a very time-consuming process, and really, until you know who your bad guy is, so to speak, or who your person you're looking for, it's very difficult to start narrowing that down. So there's just numerous records that have to go through. But now that we know who it is, it'll be a little bit easier.
Chief, any answers on how he disappeared into the night so quick?
We are still, the question was how was he able to disappear? That is something we're still looking into.
Chief, do you feel like somebody helped them? Is anybody else involved? Anybody else that you're looking at?
I have, at this point, we have no reason to believe that anyone else was involved. But like I said, it's a very ongoing, fluid investigation that we have a lot more questions that need to be answered.
Did the gun trace back to him? Was he the actual officer?
I'm sorry.
Will you be releasing the name of the person who turned in the badge
Yes, we eventually will be releasing the name of who helped us with this investigation, who he gave the gun to. I would think we'll end up having to do that.
Did the gun trace back to him? Was he the rightful owner?
You know, I don't know I don't have the answer on whether the gun was traced back to him. He admitted that he bought the gun. It was a legally purchased gun.
2 days before, is that right?
It was a few days. I'm not sure the exact number, but it was a few days before Benjamin Mitchell was murdered.
Are you investigating any other potential connections that the suspect might have to other unsolved crimes in this area?
Yes, we will be reviewing all of the unsolved crimes that we have, and we will be in touch with whatever jurisdiction he's lived in prior, and tell them what we have. You know, I have no reason to believe at this point that he's involved in anything else, but you know, we have to take a look at everything, which we've been doing, but we need to make sure wherever he's lived in the past that we let them know.
Does that include Dante Lampkin's chief?
What's that?
Dante Lampkin's chief. Does that include the case?
The Dante Lampkin's case? Yeah, at this point we don't think it's related. We've never thought it was related, but we're taking a look at it.
Do you have discussions with the state attorney about the ultimate penalty for this crime?
No, you know, I spoke to Andrew Warren when I was out there at the McDonald's yesterday afternoon. You know, at this point, it's about gathering evidence and getting a solid prosecution. We have not discussed what the penalty will be. You know, I think you have to take a look at your investigation, your gathering of the facts and everything before you can make a decision of what type of penalty you're going to seek.
Chief, I'm wondering if any of the family members behind you would want to tell us a little bit about how relieved they are.
Does he have an attorney at this time?
Not that I'm aware of, but I don't know.
He's currently incarcerated. He's currently in jail.
He's currently in the Hillsborough County Jail. I'm not aware whether he has got a assigned counsel yet.
Chief, what point do you confident Chief? You said you're confident. Crimes that he committed before he just started.
We've had no contact with him in the city of Tampa. As far as I know, he has no criminal history.
Chief, at what point do you start scaling back?
You're confident that you have the right man in custody. How confident are you right now with the evidence that you have that this could lead to a conviction? How confident?
Oh, 100%. 100%. We wouldn't arrest somebody if we didn't think they're the ones that did it, especially in a case like this. We were very careful last night. You know, when you look at how normally we as a police department and how most police departments handle things, we got right out in front of this, if you recall. When Monica Hoffa was murdered, we took a hard look at that. She was found on a Friday morning. At 1 o'clock Friday afternoon, I sat down with my commanders who briefed me and said, we may have a problem here. We didn't have ballistics back, but we knew it was within a few blocks of Benjamin Mitchell. We knew it was the same type of gun based upon the evidence. And we went out there and put ourselves out there and said, we think we have a problem. Now, no chief of police, no mayor wants to put that type of information out because you could cause a panic. But at the same time, it's a matter of public safety. And so you had to tell people what's going on. Last night when we did the press conference, we still were crafting the probable cause and putting the charging documents together, and yet we had another press conference because we knew it was our guy, and we wanted to put the word out there so the people of Seminole Heights could get some sleep.
When you first took him into custody, can you describe his demeanor? Was he surprised? Was he cooperative?
He seemed pretty laid back, pretty relaxed.
Chief, at what point do you start scaling back the patrols?
Well, we started that last night. I mean, obviously the city, we're still going to protect the city, but FHP will be able to go back to their normal duties, and we'll be able to put people back to their normal patrols and everything.
Mayor Andrew Warren is in Washington, D.C. today, so I can't ask him this face-to-face, but I'll ask you, what penalty do you think Warren should see?
The question was, Andrew Warren's not here, he's traveling. What penalty do I think this particular suspect should receive? I want the process to take its place, Jeff. I think it's appropriate that the process take its place. I think at the end of this, if he is found to be guilty, he should die. It's that simple.
Someone had asked about the families. If anybody do you want to come up and speak? This is Monica Hoffa's uncle.
Yes, sir.
I just want to thank all the local law enforcement agencies and everybody that went together and came together as a community. It took people like you to keep it out in the air and out in the nation so everybody's alert and aware to watch their own backs. Like he was saying before, if you were going outside by yourself, you were either a victim or a suspect, and that was really helpful for the community so we didn't have an extra murder. Thank you very much for your law enforcement. We want to thank the governor for everything that he released all the assets to federally grant these people all the funds. Thank you so much for everything.
What's your reaction to just the fact that they now believe that they have the man? Is it a relief to you, sir?
Well, I'm sure we have a lot of people in this community that are able to sleep now, because I as well, I graduated from Hillsborough, but this is my community. I live in Tampa, been here for 50 years, and I want everybody to sleep well. And thanks to the mayor and the governor and the chief of police and all his support and his backing, we are able to do that again, and we can show the city that we are light. We are not shadowed by this whatsoever. We have been shining through Super Bowls, we've been shining through everything else, and we will shine on through this, and we will make every single one of them. Benjamin, Monica, Anthony, and Ronald, we will not let their names die in vain.
What is your name, sir?
Robert Hoffa. Thank you, everyone.
Good job.
All right.
Thank you, Mayor.
This is Casimir Nyboa. This is Anthony Nyboa's father. If you will recall, he has expressed some frustration during this investigation, and I want you to please be cognizant that if you had to bury your own child, you might be frustrated in how fast the investigation was going along. I would never question anyone, a grieving father, for expressing any questions on how we went about this investigation. So when you ask him questions, please remember he's a grieving father and is going through something that no one should have to do. Casimir?
So, what went through your mind when you heard that an arrest had been made?
Finally relieved that now you go into the next phase. Try I got all the kids, I got all the children, and now at least we're not looking no more for this person. I'm gonna give thanks to the all law enforcement, to Mayor Bockham, to Chief Dugan, for all the hard work that was there day in, day out, and I saw them. I know few moments, it's not a question, I became like I don't know, you want to see this person apprehend, and sometimes out of your grief, you might say something like, what's going on, but they understand, Chief understands, but in the name of Nyboa's family, we thank everybody for their support, the community, everybody that they stood with us and feel the pain, not only my family of Monica, Benjamin, and Fulton. Thank you very much.
Nope. All right. We're good. The sun is shining. Tampa's ready to move on. Turn that page. Thank all of you for helping